today. And where we're going to start at is, oh my gosh, today we have on track Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen both declared for the NFL draft. The Celtics are greater than the Cavs. Greater than sign. Not just one greater than, but multiple greater than signs. The Pac-12 balance of power has changed now that Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen have declared for the NFL draft. And then we're going to take a little bit of a trek into Kyrie Irving's mind and why that's a good thing or why that's a bad thing. But the most interesting fact of the day that I've seen so far today is that Tiger Woods is going to be playing in the Farmers Insurance Open on January 25th at Torrey Pines. And I mean, am I the only person that's like jumping for joy inside behind this? I'm excited for Tiger Woods to be back. And not just back, but back and playing well. You guys, thank you for joining me. George Reister here, Unafraid Show, the greatest Unafraid show of all time now that we got all the technical difficulties out of the way. Other thing is, want to give a shout out to the people on the East Coast who are dealing with the snow. Sorry. That's why I live in California. Hope your life is better. Hopefully, while you're snowed in, while you're watching your kids all day, that it gives you an opportunity to get a little escape and a little bit of, downtime. But you guys make sure you swipe up, share the feed. We're going to get going now. So last night, I was watching the Cavaliers and the Cavs versus the Boston Celtics. Mind you, it's a big game, hyped game. Isaiah Thomas makes his return, even though he didn't play, back to Boston. And then his whole situation, Kyrie Irving leaving the Cavs, asking to be traded because he wasn't wanted. And then going to the Boston Celtics, they want him, this whole fiasco, right? And a graphic popped up on the screen, and it popped up with the Eastern Conference standings. And I'm sitting here like, hold up. The Toronto Raptors are in second place. Mind you, it's still football season, so I'm watching NBA, watching college, but not at the level that I do like after the NFL playoffs are over, when I get full in, locked in, tuned in to basketball. And I was like, dang, like, at the beginning of the season, the Cavs were doing, the Cavs started fast and they slowed down, all this stuff. And I started looking at the Toronto Raptors. I'm like, they're the 2 seed again. A couple years ago that they were the 1 seed. And then that got me to thinking. I was like, wow, I have not seen a Toronto Raptors game. So I tweeted out, I'm like, all right, has anybody seen the Toronto Raptors play? Because I know DeMar DeRozan scored 52 points in the first day on January 1st or January 2nd. But, I mean, has anybody literally watched this team play? Not to determine whether they're good or not, but to, do you care to watch the Toronto Raptors play? You guys make sure you send your comments in. I'll get to them as well. Because I have no desire to watch the Toronto Raptors play, that they don't play exciting basketball. And then that further got me to thinking is the reason why nobody cares about the Toronto Raptors is because they can't win a championship. They cannot win a championship. And that got me to going, that's the last thing that you want to be in life is the Toronto Raptors. And the last thing that you want your sports team to be is the Toronto Raptors. Because they are a good team, a solid team. They got good players with DeMar DeRozan and Lowry, but they're not good enough to win a championship. I mean, how sorry must that be as a fan when you look up and you know you're going to win the majority of your games. You're going to win 50 games a year, but you have no chance to win a championship. That's who the Toronto Raptors are. They cannot win with a championship with Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan as their best players, both making over $100 million a year. So, and then they got Serge Ibaka as their third best player. That's not a championship caliber team. And that's the last thing that you want to be. And then that got me thinking, like, who would this equate to in sports or other aspects of life? And I'm sitting here like, hold up. If you were looking in the sport of football, like if you were looking in pro football, who would the Toronto Raptors be? The Toronto Raptors would clearly be like Andrew Luck with the Colts. Like the really good team. They got kind of a star kind of guy. Can't win it. Phillip Rivers with the Chargers, like when they had LaDainian Tomlinson. And even this year, good team, not good enough to win it. Got a big time player, but they're just not championship caliber material. That's what the Toronto Raptors are. And you do not want your team to be the Toronto Raptors. In the world of tech or internet, MySpace. MySpace had a really good run. Foursquare, good app, useful app. So was MySpace. But guess what? It's just not Facebook. It's just not Twitter. That's what the Toronto Raptors are. They're like a good team, just not great. And you don't want your team to be that person. Like you don't want your life. Well, there are some people who are content with just whatever in life. You know, just content with, white picket fence, having a good day, having a decent life, but never strive for any greatness. And that's who the Toronto Raptors are. They think that they're great, but they're really not that great. In the world of music, who would the Toronto Raptors be? They would be, Kelly Rowland. Kelly Rowland is she's been in movies. She's sold records, all this. But at the end of the day, she's just not Beyonce. That's not a knock. That doesn't mean she's trash, but she's just not Beyonce. Another example in the world of music. Popular group in the 90s. 98 Degrees. Oh, 98 Degrees had songs. They were good. But they just weren't in sync. They just weren't. They were in sync was better. That's who the Toronto Raptors are. Do you want your team to be the Toronto Raptors? No, you don't. Because it's probably, I think that's worse. Being a fan of a team that cannot win a championship but still really good, I think that's worse than being the fan of a team that sucks, like the 76ers did for a while, or like the Lakers are doing right now, a team that's building, trying to come up, trying to be great again. I would much rather that, because the worst thing is to know that you're out there playing and know that you don't have a chance to win. That's like losing at the end of the game. You don't want to lose on a half-court shot. You'd rather get blown out than have your heart ripped out. And that's what the Toronto Raptors are every single year. They're good, just not good enough to do anything special. Because truth be told, they can't beat the Cavs and they can't beat the Bucks. But then they could beat the Celtics, but then they would still have to play the Cavs or the Bucks. And then when you look at the Celtics, they can lose to the Wizards. They can lose to the Bucks, but they can beat the Cavaliers, which is weird. And when I was watching the game last night, that got me to not only just looking at the fact that I think that the Celtics can beat the Cavaliers, because Kyrie Irving is something special. LeBron is a one-man band. He's great. He's fantastic. Best season in his 15 years. Okay, I'm not going to debate that. But what I can debate you on, what I can talk to you about is Kyrie Irving. And for one, I want to get in Kyrie Irving's mind. Like I really wish I could get in his head for a second. Because when you look at some of the public comments that this dude has made, mind you, he's a flat earther. And yes, there are some people who might be on here that are flat earthers. But let's be real. The earth is not flat. That's a good point. The Toronto Raptors are also the Supersonics with Sean Kemp. Yeah, just good, but just can't get over the hump. It's just other people out there that are just better. So I really wish I could get into Kyrie Irving's head for a minute. Because the idea of stepping into somebody's brain, yes, it's a little bit scary. But it's like Kyrie Irving's not scary. It's not like going into Dennis Rodman's brain or going into Johnny Depp's brain. Like, you don't want to get in there because, like, there's scary stuff in there and you might get stuck. Like, you could literally go in Rodman's brain and be in Get Out or whatever and not be able to come out. Like, that would be terrifying. I wouldn't want to go in Johnny Depp's brain either. Have you seen his movies? He plays crazy people way too well. Whether it's Pirates of the Caribbean or the movie where he was the writer. Like, he's scary. So you don't want to be in Johnny Depp's brain. But Kyrie Irving is not like that. Kyrie Irving is like, it's weird, but it's not scary. And remember, this is the dude that said that that not only was the earth flat, but when the Milwaukee Bucks, when they brought in that retro floor, he was like, yeah, man, it hurts my knees. This is the old court and all this. And I'm trying to figure out whether Kyrie actually believes the stuff he says or he's just saying it to troll us. Because I need to know this. That's why I want to get in his brain. Like, there is, I mean, he seems like somewhat of a space cadet, but he's like idiot savant almost. Like, he's super smart, but at the same time, it's some crazy stuff going on in there. And then I got to thinking, all right, so I wonder, like, imagine if Kyrie Irving were sat up there and asked about, like, political questions. Or if he were sat up there and asked, like, you know, like the theory of relativity or something. Because he's a guy, he spent 1 year at Duke. I think he's a smart kid. However, there's a level of education that's not there simply because he wasn't educated on the same level. So unless he reads books at unbelievable rates or whatever, you can't base your, like you can't think that somebody is that brilliant or like book smart, intelligent when you do have to be that to comment on like some scientific things. But then I thought about, okay, going into Kyrie's mind is different than going in like the mind of LeBron, going in the mind of Kobe, going in the mind of Tom Brady, or even Mike Trout. Because you know what you're going to get in there. Like, what are you going to get in the mind of LeBron, Kobe, Brady, and Mike Trout? It's standard issue stuff. Kind of lack of emotions, maniacal work ethic, desire to win, no real demons, but they have some struggles, some stuff they haven't fully unpacked yet. White picket fences, you know, more money, more problems stuff. Like, that's what you're going to get in their brain. But that's not what you're going to get with Kyrie's brain. And I find that very, very interesting because it's scary, because it's not like that movie Tropic Thunder, if you guys have seen it, where Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., where he goes, the guy says to him, you don't even know who you are. And he says, I know who I am. I'm the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude. You don't go full retard. That's why you can go in Kyrie's brain, but you can't go in Dennis Rodman's brain or Johnny Depp's brain. Those are scary places where you might get locked in there and not be able to get out. Yeah, exactly. He's kind of more like Allen Iverson that told the line. I would agree with that, because there's no, like, going in Allen Iverson's brain is not like a scary place. The next thing up is you guys make sure you swipe up, share the feed. So Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen have declared for the NFL draft. Both declared for the NFL draft. We'll get to where they might go, who's better, and all that stuff. But this literally affects the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is severely affected because the biggest thing the Pac-12 has to like undo for next year is this damn bowl record. Because the Pac-12 did not do a good job in the bowl games. Like, they just did not at all. And when you look at who was positioned to win the Pac-12, who was positioned to do well. Hold on, let me send it out. Balance of power. When you look at who is most positioned to do well in the Pac-12, who's best positioned to play great in the Pac-12, here's what you got. So you had obviously USC and UCLA who had great quarterbacks, top quarterbacks, but now who is best positioned to make the playoffs? We went over that yesterday, but today we have new information. Stuff has changed, and I believe that the teams best positioned to be in the college football playoffs in the Pac-12 is Stanford. It's Stanford. Because if David Shaw is a great coach, he managed to get his team back in the Pac-12 conversation and Pac-12 championship game, and he didn't have a quarterback. Like, imagine that. David Shaw did. So Stanford is the top dog in the Pac-12 right now. Is the top dog. You guys make sure you swipe up, share the feed, and send your comments in. I want to get to those as well. So Stanford's the top dog in the Pac-12 right now. Their quarterback, Bryce Love, may come back, but I doubt it. He's probably going to declare for the NFL draft. I would if I were him, especially the way he played on his raggedy ankle this year. I mean, like, the kid was fantastic. Like, the kid was like special. And if David Shaw can get good quarterback play out of Costello, they'll be in prime position. The second team that is ready and prime to do something well in the Pac-12, and people aren't really like understanding it, is UCLA. That new coach, Chip Kelly. But the most important thing that UCLA has going for it is that they have a quarterback. And that they have a quarterback who can run Chip Kelly's system. The kid who came in and played in the bowl game was named Mond. He's athletic. He can run. He looks a lot like Marcus Mariota. Like, in terms of physically tangible gifts. The worst thing that he is, like, if you remember watching Oregon play, is like a Darren Thomas. And Darren Thomas went to the Rose Bowl and went to the national championship. Like, that's where you are with that. Like, you have a team that can win in UCLA. Next team best positioned, even though I don't feel like that they're in all that great of a position, is Washington. Washington is a good team, but they're like Washington is literally the Toronto Raptors of the Pac-12. That's who they are. Really good team, got solid stuff, good defense, first round draft picks, this and that, but they cannot win. Like, they don't have a special player at the quarterback position to be able to get them over the hump. Jake Browning's not that guy. He's just not. I mean, you guys tried to sell me on it. And what did I tell you? Absolutely not. Jake Browning is not that guy. Oh, Washington fans, oh, you're a hater because you're an Oregon guy. No, I see what I see. Like, I'm critical of Oregon at times too for stuff that doesn't happen or stuff that should happen. But, like, let's not act like that this is some magical, like, quarterback in Jake Browning. That's the reason why Stanford's number one, power in the Pac-12. UCLA number 2, Washington 3, Oregon number 4. Because what Oregon has going for it at number 4 is Mario Cristobal. Where did he come from? Alabama. He's built offensive lines there. And they're going to be able to run the ball effectively. That is going to be a huge deal. Like, I think that you're going to see Oregon play more like an SEC team, more like Alabama, where you have some spread, but they're going to be a little bit more up-tempo. You're going to have a little bit of spread. But at the same time, you are going to have them knocking heads. They're going to be knocking heads, which is going to be interesting to see because it's going to be a little bit of a departure from what you've seen at Oregon at the past. Number 5 is USC. They're not as well coached as UCLA, not as well coached as Stanford or Washington. They got a ton of talent, but they're not as well coached. I mean, Clay Helton's a good guy. He's recruiting pretty well. But it feels like his team is underachieving. That game against Ohio State was disgusting. I mean, I know their offensive line got just boat raced, but that was disgusting. Like, it was kind of embarrassing for the Pac-12 because Oregon got embarrassed, USC got embarrassed, Arizona put up a good fight and all that. The other team, the next best team positioned to win a championship in the Pac-12, Utah, and then Arizona, then Washington State, then Cal, Colorado, Arizona State, then Oregon State. We won't even talk about those teams. But a team that I do want to highlight for you, though, is Cal. Because Cal is well coached. They've got good offensive coaches, good defensive coaches. They're just limited physically right now. And once those recruits start rolling in for Justin Wilcox, that's going to be a good team, a team that can knock some teams off in the Pac-12 and could actually be a team that could win the Pac-12, but they're like 3-4 years away from that, at least 3-4 years away from that. But back to the teams that were like most affected by Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold leaving to go to the NFL are clearly USC and UCLA. Now the question is, where do they go in the draft? Because here's the draft order, because I don't know if anybody's really paid attention to it. The Browns have the first pick, Giants, Colts, Browns, and then Broncos. Yes, Browns twice in the top 4. So one of those picks is going to be a quarterback. And who would I draft if I were them? I would draft Johnny Manziel. Not Johnny Manziel. That's actually scary because I meant Baker Mayfield, but I said Johnny Manziel, so that could be a bad time. But they're probably going to draft Sam Darnold. I would draft Baker Mayfield just because he matches what they do. Like I keep saying this over and over. He's an overcomer. He's a guy who's been up against adversity. He's used to this. That's why I would pick Baker Mayfield. But they're probably going to draft Sam Darnold because Josh Rosen has said he doesn't want to go there. Somebody said they might have missed it, but how does Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold affect Oregon? Well, they affect Oregon because it literally affects the balance of power in the Pac-12 and whether the Pac-12 can make it to the college football playoff sooner or later. Because I would have given UCLA an opportunity to make it to the playoffs this year just because of Chip Kelly. But USC falls down big time without Sam Darnold because it's hard to find a replacement for a quarterback that good. But dude, Cleveland is known to F up the draft. Yeah, they'll mess around and have the number 1 and the number 4 pick and won't draft a quarterback. Or they'll draft Josh Allen out of Wyoming. Huh? Excuse me? Like, we've been over the stats. Kid was not special at all this year. Not even, like, he was pedestrian versus Iowa and Oregon. Those are 2 Power 5 teams. And people say, oh, he lost wide receivers. He didn't have NFL talent anymore, blah, blah, blah. Great quarterbacks make the rest of their team look better. Unless he had like an insane amount of drops, which did not happen, then I'm not buying into that. But if I'm Josh Rosen, I absolutely want to go to the Giants. 100%. 100%. Because what I do is I'm pulling the Eli Manning. People are going to cry about it. People are going to be upset about it. But I'm not going anywhere I do not want to be. Because this is the last time that you are going to have even a little bit of leverage over what happens to you. Because you go to a place where you don't have control over the coach. You don't have control over the system. You don't have control over any of these things. You just have control over how you play. So if you can put yourself in a better situation, do that. Most players don't have that leverage. You have to be, top 3, top 4, top 5 pick to be able to do that. So if you can do it, more power to you, brother. More power to you. But you know who's going to screw up in the draft, though? The Broncos are going to screw up in the draft. Because John Elway has not drafted good offensive players. Like, so far. Went through the list a couple days ago. It's just been, I mean, mind you, he has not drafted a lot of offensive players. But the ones he's drafted have not been spectacular at all. Trevor Siemian, at the fourth or fifth round pick, good stopgap. The kid out of the running back out of Utah that's out there, he's okay. He's not getting a whole lot of playing time. Been hurt a little bit. Whatever. So, but the question is, there's going to be a lot of movement before the draft, though, because you got Kirk Cousins, who may be out of Washington, or Washington is going to have to pay him $32 million if they franchise him again, because he's going to want a mint. And I don't blame him. I love when players have leverage. I love it. I know some fans hate it and they call players greedy, but I love when players have leverage to control their destiny and control their future like Kirk Cousins does. The Redskins have franchised him 2 times in a row already. He's going, and if they do it again, he's going to end up making way more than he would have made already. Would have made $80 million in 3 years. He would have never done that. So go ahead, Kirk Cousins, get your bread. So if I'm Washington, I'm definitely considering drafting a quarterback. The Chargers have to think about a quarterback because Phillip Rivers is on his last legs. And the Steelers need a quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger was talking about retiring last year. So if he wins the Super Bowl this year, guess what? He's out. He's out. Like, you might as well cancel Christmas. It's not coming back. So when you have the Browns, Giants, Colts may need a quarterback, Broncos, Washington, the Chargers, the Steelers all need quarterbacks. Like the Steelers, they all need quarterbacks, except for the Chargers are the only ones that aren't in a big rush. And the only real big-time free agent quarterback that's going to be available is going to be Kirk Cousins. So you're going to have a lot of jockeying and positioning. And what the Browns might do is they might trade out of that one spot, trade back, and end up drafting some Yahoo from somewhere and end up with no quarterback again. But they're in a good spot, though. The things that we've covered today are Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold to the NFL. The Celtics greater than the Cavs, why that is, and who you don't want to be in life. You do not want to be the Toronto Raptors in life, and you don't want your sports team to be the Toronto Raptors. Good team, but not good enough to win anything. That's who you want. That's who you want. Somebody just said they should get Kirk Cousins in Cleveland. Yeah, they should. They're way under the salary cap. He'd be a good addition. You get a good, solid quarterback. Then you build around him. But you got to pay him a fortune. Going in Kyrie Irving's mind. We went over that as well. And the balance of power in the Pac-12. You guys, make sure you guys send all your emails to unafraidshow@gmail.com. Download the podcast on iTunes. It's available. It'll be on TuneIn in a couple of days. You guys, thank you guys for joining me today. Unafraid, Reister or Wrong. George Reister here. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.